Yo, it's level 7, and since the release of my last 2 videos, I've been thinking about what I should talk about next. Since those videos were largely about the roster and what the Cardinals are building, I wanted to keep it in the same ballpark, showing the other teams in the division why the Cardinals are here to stay. And here's how I'm going to do this. I'm going to rank the teams in division from 1st to 4th based on starters of their position group, and I'll have a secondary ranking based on the depth that each position group has. For example, a team could be ranked 1st with their safeties but 4th with their depth, which might equate to a 2nd place final rank in the division, because like it or not, depth matters. The war of attrition that NFL rosters face during the season is a real thing. Now before we get started, remember these are all my opinions. If you disagree, feel free to let your quarrels be known in the comment section. Got it? Okay. To start off, we have to address the most important position on the field, the leader of the team, the quarterback. Coming in 1st in the division, I have the Los Angeles Rams with their QB Matthew Stafford. And Cardinals fans, while I do believe Kyler will be a better QB than Stafford in 2024 and beyond, Stafford is just that guy right now. He's shown that he can process NFL defenses at a high level and make any throw on the field, and his toughness is second to none among NFL QBs. Matthew Stafford combined with Sean McVay's offensive genius is a real scary sight for NFL defenses every single game day. Stafford might have been a first ballot Hall of Famer if he was drafted into a better situation. His only real limitation is his limited mobility outside of the pocket, which can be very useful in today's game. But all in all, he's coming in 1st in the division. Coming in 2nd in the division, I'm going with the Arizona Cardinals QB Kyler Murray. I know Niners fans just left a dislike, but hey, I don't care. Kyler has height limitations and that's it. He's better than Brock Purdy in every way. The Niners fan argument is usually the same argument that everybody uses to say that Kyler Murray is trash. He never won a playoff game. His team doesn't win games. He's addicted to COD. He's a bum. The usual things that people say about K1. He's literally one of the most hated QBs in the league for no reason at all. I have a video coming on that soon, but that's besides the point. Kyler has elite arm talent that Brock does not have. Kyler has elite scrambling ability, which Brock does not have. Murray at his best has superb deep ball accuracy, and while he's yet to be put in a system where he can truly thrive and succeed by his coaching staff, unlike Purdy, Kyler is not a system quarterback. He is the system. This is why in 2021, when the Cardinals kept running the same repetitive plays and had a very repetitive system, they still won. It's because Kyler has the ability to put the team on his back, while Brock does not have that ability. I'm sorry to tell you that, Niners fans. Brock does not elevate his team. Kyler does. If the Niners had K1 at QB, they would have won every Super Bowl that they've been in the last 5 years. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. K1 is like that, and under Drew Petzing's wing, he will thrive. On to the next. At 3rd in the division, I have the San Francisco 49ers with Brock Purdy. And alright, while I do believe Kyler and Stafford are better than Purdy, I don't think Brock Purdy sucks. I do think he's a system quarterback, but that's not a bad thing, especially because when the system he's running might be the best one in all of football. And when you're running the best system in football and you can process a defense like Brock Purdy can, even though he doesn't have elite arm talent or he doesn't have elite mobility, he might have elite processing, which is a very good thing. But the thing about Purdy is he has his limitations. His deep balls are often overthrown or underthrown, and when he does hit a man deep, it's usually because that guy is wide open. Is that a bad thing? No. Why would it be? It just means that your quarterback is being put in a position to win. I wish Kyler Murray was put in that position more, because then I think we would see a way better player. But I'm not hating on Brock Purdy. I just do think that he has his limitations. But Brock also has very good mobility that reminds me of Russell Wilson. He's not the fastest guy, but he still finds a way to extend plays and make annoying passes down the field. He also excels at mid to short range throws. While Brock Purdy is not elite, he's still good. It's just that his ceiling is nowhere near as good as the 2 guys ahead of him. It is what it is. Hate me for it. On to the next. And in 4th place, I have the Seattle Seahawks with Geno Smith. While I will say Geno Smith has a rocket for an arm, he's actually a pretty solid quarterback. He's probably a top 20 QB in the league, but I look at him as like a high tier bridge QB. He's a guy who can win you a decent amount of games based on sheer arm talent and solid scrambling ability, but he can also lose you a decent amount of games based on his inconsistent accuracy and mental mistakes. But despite that, Geno is a really good leader in the locker room. Although he's the 4th ranked QB in the NFC West, he's probably the second or third ranked QB in any other division. The NFC West is just really good. And in terms of the depth rankings, we're gonna have to go with the Seahawks at 1. While Sam Howell is a question mark as a starting QB, I think he makes a really good backup and could possibly develop into a solid starter behind Geno Smith. And I have at 2, I had to go with the Cardinals. This was a toss-up between Desmond Ridder and Jimmy G, and though they're the same tier of QB, I went with Ridder just because I think he at least brings the ability to scramble. I think he's a better QB than what he's been given credit for. He was in an awful system run by Arthur Smith in Atlanta. And at 3, I have the Rams with Jimmy G. He's proven he can run a system with confidence before. Maybe I'm biased, but he's old. He's a good backup, but for now he's 3. Easily could have been 2, but it is what it is. Cardinals bias, I guess. At 4, I've got the Niners. As a Cardinals fan, I know a lot about Josh Dobbs. Love him as a guy, and his highlights are cold. He'll make a lot of plays on his feet, but he's just lacking pass accuracy. I feel like he's a one read and go type of guy, which is bad at the NFL level. I don't know, maybe he's better with the Niners, but for now I'm taking those guys ahead of him. For the final rank, nothing changes. If any of our backups has to see the field for an extended amount of time, we're more likely to lose more games than we win. Now, to start with the running backs, with no surprise at all, we have the San Francisco 49ers with Christian McCaffrey, the greatest white man to ever touch the football. He's the best in the league. I think he should have won MVP last season because honestly, I believe that if the Niners didn't have Christian McCaffrey, they wouldn't be half as good as they are now. He puts that team on his back in the run game. He's elite in the pass game. He's unstoppable. He forces his team to stack the box to try to stop him, and they still can't do it. He opens so much in the play-action passing game for the Niners, giving Purdy sometimes unfair looks for his receivers downfield. CMC is, as advertised, one of the greatest running backs in NFL history. Of course, he's the best in the division. And now, second place is going to be controversial. I already know it. This is really neck and neck, but I had to give the advantage to the running back James Conner, just due to him putting the team on his back. Like it was just him and him alone for a decent amount of the season. Josh Dobbs, we had him starting for 9 weeks, and as I said, his pass accuracy was lacking. And James Conner literally had to keep us in games. Now, both James and Kyron are very extremely underrated running backs compared to their outlook, but I'm gonna put him at 2. Once again, maybe Cardinals bias, but just like Kyron, he also missed a decent amount of the season due to their injury and still eclipsed 1K. And his O-line was probably worse than the Rams too. He didn't have Puka Nacua on his team. He didn't have Matthew Stafford. It was literally just him for majority of the year. Kyler wasn't there. It was Josh Dobbs and James Conner. He put the team on his back. Maybe I'm biased, but I gotta give it to him. But this is really close. Like, we could have had a tie for second place, but that's kind of lame. I'm not gonna do any ties. In third place, we had the Rams. Let me say this: in terms of running back, the NFC West is probably the best division in football. Kyron is elite, but it just happens to be that the 2 guys ahead of him are also elite. Kyron may not be the fastest guy nor the strongest guy, but he runs with patience and he runs hard. When he was out for a bit in the season, but when he got back, he was averaging 100 yards per game, and he set the league on fire, going for 1K yards in 11 games. I'm not sleeping on him, trust me, especially with how he gashed the Cardinals last year. In fourth place, I've got the Seattle Seahawks running back, Kenneth Walker. He's a good running back, but all the guys ahead of him eclipse the 1K yard mark and fewer opportunities. Other than CMC, he's a good running back who can be just as great. I just don't think he's on the level of those guys ahead of him yet. And for the depth rankings, which is really important when it comes to the running back position in today's NFL, due to NFL offenses now tending to lean more towards using running backs by committee to take stress off of their top guys. And first, I have the Arizona Cardinals with Trey Benson and Michael Carter. Michael Carter, who already in his short NFL career came close to eclipsing 1K all-purpose yards and had a solid season for us last year in the short period of time he was here. Trey Benson, who many people had ranked somewhere between their running back 1 and running back 3 in the 2024 NFL draft, could easily combine with James Conner to go over 2.2K all-purpose yards and most likely more. The Cardinals already had the 4th best rushing offense in the league last year, largely due to James Conner. Now you add a full season of Michael Carter and possibly the best running back in the draft this year. You know, the Cardinals have the best depth at the running back position in the division by far. And in second, I have to go with the Seattle Seahawks. At first, I was going to go with the Rams, but in terms of total depth, I like the Seahawks a bit better with Zach Charbonnet and Kenny McIntosh, who, by the way, I played football with in high school. Go Sharks. But besides that, yeah, Charbonnet is a really solid power back, and I don't think the Hawks at all have really let the potential of Kenny Mack been shown in the passing game, because I legitimately believe he's a top tier receiving back, and I think he has a lot of potential yet to be shown. On third place, I have to go with the Rams with Blake Corum and Ronnie Rivers. I wanted to give him the second spot because I do like Blake Corum, and I think he's essentially a mirror image of Kyren Williams as a running back. And he'll probably most likely bring the same thing to the Rams offense that Kyren brings. But behind him, it gets really weak with Ronnie Rivers, who probably will rarely see the field this year, but it's still a really solid running back room nonetheless. The fourth place, I got the 49ers, who have Isaac Guerendo and Elijah Mitchell behind CMC. It's probably the worst depth in the league, let alone the NFC West. Isaac was a reach in the draft, never even starting a game in college, and Elijah Mitchell has been on a steep decline since 2019. And I don't want to forget about the fullback Kyle Juszczyk, who's a solid gadget piece, but he doesn't really bring anything to the run game other than a lead block. Now for the final rankings for this position group, I'm going to have to go Cardinals 1, Niners 2, Rams 3, Seahawks 4. From top to bottom, the Cardinals have the best running back group. And if anything happens to Connor, we won't take as big as a hit as the Niners, who, if they lose CMC, they will likely have the worst running back core in the NFL. But nonetheless, they stay at 2 because they have Christian McCaffrey, and Christian McCaffrey does Christian McCaffrey things, and if he stays healthy, they'll most likely be one of the best rushing offenses in the NFL. The Rams have a really good running back 1 and 2, but those depth behind those guys is so mid, so they stay at 3. And while I like the Seahawks running back depth, I don't think it did enough to put them above in the other teams in the division. So for now, they stay at 4. And on to the receiving core, which I'll be ranking the starting wideouts and tight ends together. And this is probably the hardest position in group to rank for this division. But in first place, I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers. With Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle all eclipsing 1K all-purpose yards last year, they have to be ranked at number 1, just because they've proven it. Brandon Ayuk being one of the best deep threats in the NFL last season, earning second-team All-Pro nods, Deebo being the best gadget piece in the NFL, turning screens and short receptions into automatic first downs, and George Kittle earning his 4th Pro Bowl nod, probably solidifying himself with a gold jacket in Canton. Although Brandon Ayuk is on thin ice to be traded soon, for now, the Niners have proven to have the best receiving weapons in the division, starting receiving weapons at least. And second, I have to go with the Seahawks. This could have easily been the Rams or the Cardinals, but I just think the Seahawks are in a better position with DK, Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. DK has proven to be a true X receiver in the NFL by now, eclipsing the 1K mark for the 3rd time in his career, shown to be an excellent route runner who can hit his head on the goalpost at any time he catches the ball. Tyler Lockett, who's still an excellent possession receiver with sure hands, came close to the 1K mark this season. Although he is getting older, I'm not sure his production will take a hitch due to his conservative play style. And Jackson Smith and Jigba, who had a really solid rookie year, even though most of the time he was being used incorrectly by the former Seahawks OC Shane Waldron, I would expect an uptick from Jackson in 2024. Now in third place, this may cause a ruckus. I have the the Arizona Cardinals with MHJ, Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, and Trey McBride. A largely unproven receiving core, but I do believe we have the best receiver in the division already with Marvin Harrison Jr. Even though he is a rookie, he's not just a regular rookie. He is probably the best wide receiver prospect that we've seen since Megatron. And I wouldn't be surprised if Marv came and broke the same record that Puka just broke last year. Pair that with Trey McBride, who next year will most likely be the best tight end in the division. Sorry, Niners fans, Kittle is one of my favorite players of all time. But he's getting old, and Trey McBride, while not starting until week 8, was only 225 yards shy of the 1K yard mark, and he was snubbed as a Pro Bowler. We have Michael Wilson, who nearly had more yards than Jackson Smith and Jigba, and half the receptions that Jackson Smith and Jigba had.
Catch by Wilson. He's in for the sideline. Good adjustment by Mike.
Can't forget about Greg Dortch, and I have to make a video specifically about Greg Dortch because he deserves one. Just know that Greg Dortch is incoming. He's like that. And at 4th, I have the Rams. They could have easily been the first in this division, just because Puka and Kupp alone are elite. But everything behind them is like completely mid. Tyler Higbee isn't good. Nakua is elite. He broke the rookie receiving yard record, and Kupp is also elite. We know what he can do when he's at his best, and he racked up 700 yards in 12 games this year. But other than them and their starting receiving core, nobody racked up more than 500 receiving yards. So it's like, they could have easily been at first place just based off the starters, because I know that's what I said at the beginning. But in terms of all their starters, their X, their Y, their Z, and their tight end, I feel like they have the worst in the division. But the 2 top guys that they have, Puka and Kupp, might be the best in the division. And for the depth rankings, I gotta go Cardinals with 1, Zay Jones, Chris Moore, Tip Ryman, Elijah Higgins. Niners at 2, Juwan Jennings, Jacob Cowan, Logan Thomas. The Seahawks had 3 with Laviska Shenault, Jake Bobo, and Dwayne Eskridge. And then the Rams at 4 with Tutu Atwell, Demarcus Robinson, and Colby Parkinson. And for the final rankings, I would say they stay the same, even though I was tempted to move my Cardinals into 2nd place. And if the Niners trade Ayuk, they'll easily plummet to 3rd or 4th place in the division, because losing a guy that got all pro nods will always take a hit on your offense. Do an offensive line breakdown, but I don't want to be disingenuous. I haven't watched the other team's offensive line, but from what I hear from the other teams when I watch their content and things of that nature, this is how I'm going to rank them. I'm going to go Rams 1, Cardinals 2, Seahawks 3, Niners 4. Niners fans are constantly crapping our offensive line, so it has to suck. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take those rankings and we're going to assign points to them. 4 points being the first place, 3rd being 3 points, and from there on, you get it. You know what I'm saying? So, and there's a 3-way tie for first place, with the Rams, the Niners, and Cardinals all having 11 points, and the Seahawks having 7, which in my opinion is fair. I think this year, the NFC West offenses are going to be electric. I think it's once again the NFC best. The best division in football is back, baby. The Niners offense, as long as Kyle Shanahan is Kyle Shanahaning, it will be elite. The Rams offense, as long as Sean McVay is Sean McVaying, it'll be elite. If the Cardinals rushing offense could stay that good and Kyler comes back and he plays a full healthy season, the Cardinals offense will be elite with the weapons that we just added. I know a lot of people are like, that's bullshit, but if you don't believe me, you should go watch the video that I just posted a couple weeks ago. But as a Cardinals fan, I just gotta say this, I can't wait to beat that ass. I do think we're gonna have the best offense in this division, even though we all tied at 11 points. The Cardinals coming for that ass this year. Nobody's stopping Marvin Harrison Jr. Nobody's stopping Kyler Murray. Nobody's stopping James Conner, Trey Benson, Trey McBride. Those weapons are going to be unstoppable. We on that ass. You know what it is. Alright. Make sure you like. Make sure you subscribe. Comment your thoughts. And for the next video, I'll be ranking the defenses. Till then, peace.